Hello and welcome to this tutorial, and in this tutorial we'll be creating an interesting JavaFX application which is nothing but a calculator. So if you're using Windows, then you might have a calculator which looks something like this. So this is what we are trying to create here in this tutorial. So basically we will have digits ranging from 0 to 9, and we will provide functionality to basically divide, multiply, subtract and add those numbers. So this is what we are trying to achieve here. So we should have a calculator which has the digits from 0 to 9, and it has functionality to basically add, subtract, divide and multiply those numbers. So now let's go ahead and get started with the tutorial. So the very first thing which you need to do is that you actually need to create a new project, and I've actually already created a brand new project. Now basically the very first thing which we do while creating any JavaFX application is that we basically go ahead and create the user interface for our application. So basically we open up this fxml file in the screen builder so as to design up the user interface for our calculator application. So once you have opened up the brand new fxml file in the screen builder, this is what we actually get. So basically we will have a grid pane layout and there would be nothing else onto this. So the very first thing which we need to do is that we actually need to set up a layout for our calculator. So let's say we actually want to set our layout to VBox layout. So we type in VBox, and we should have the VBox layout which could be used in our application. So I'm going to simply drag this VBox layout and drop it on the grid pane. So currently this is what our VBox layout actually looks like. Now we actually need to assign it a particular height and width for the calculator. So I've already done this application before, so I know that we actually need a height and width of 300 and 300. So I'm going to simply go to the layout, and I'm going to change the preferred width to 300 and the preferred height to 300 as well. So as you could see, this is the basic container in which our actual calculator is going to lie. Now let's go ahead and add in the elements one by one to this calculator. So the very first thing which we need to add in here is basically the area where we get the result. So basically we are trying to add this area right here, which basically allows us to display the result of our operations. So in order to add that, the very first thing which we do is that we add a rectangular box over here. So we go ahead and type in rectangle. So let's go ahead and drag that rectangle and let's basically add it over here. But even before doing that, we basically go ahead and add a stack pane to the current layout. So this stack pane is usually going to be for what you could say laying out the area for displaying the answer. So just minimize the height of the stack pane layout a little bit. And now once we have the stack pane layout, let's now go ahead and let's basically add in the rectangle. So we type in rectangle, drag a rectangle and drop it to the stack pane. And basically you actually need to set up the height and width of this rectangle. So the width is going to be 230 and the height is going to be 50. So I am going to go to the layout. The width is going to be 230 and the height is actually going to be 50. Okay, so now once we have this area, which is a nice looking blue area which is going to display our result, we could now go ahead and we could basically add in the buttons for our calculator. So now for adding in the buttons, what we do is that we go ahead and we basically add in the edge box layout for laying out the buttons horizontally. So now let's go ahead and search for the edge box layout. So I'm going to type in edge box, and this is our edge box layout, and you actually need to add this edge box layout to the VBox layout right over here so that it properly gets placed over here. And you also need to actually set in the height and width for this as well. So let's go ahead and decrease the height a little bit. Okay, so now once we are done with this, we are good to go. Now let's go ahead and add in some buttons to this edge box layout. So what you could do is that to add in buttons to this, we simply go ahead and type in button. So we drag a button and we drop it right onto the edge box layout. So as you could see, the first button is placed over here. Now the next thing which we do is that we actually need to set the height and width of this button. So I'm going to simply select this button, then I'm going to go to layout, and for the preferred height and the preferred width, I'm going to specify it as 50 and 50. As the buttons are going to be square shaped, make sure that you have the same width and same height. Okay, so this is our button right here. Now we actually need to assign a text to this button so as to specify which number this button signifies. So if you again open up calculator, and if you have a look at here, the actual sequence does not start from 1, it actually starts from 7. So basically we have 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6 and 1, 2, 3. So if you want to add the numbers in that fashion, then you actually need to name this number as 7. So simply select it, go to properties and set the text of this button equal to 7. So now once you have this, the next thing which we actually need to do is that we actually need to make the changes from the XML file which we have in the... So after doing this, what you could do is that you could simply save the code so that the relevant changes are reflected over here. And when you simply open up the fxml file, this is actually what we get. So now in this fxml file, what we need to do is that we actually need to make some changes over here. If you have a look at here, this is where our actual layout starts. So we have the V box. In the V box we have the stack pane, and then we have the edge box, and in the edge box we actually have our buttons. Now we also need multiple buttons over here. So even before doing that, we actually specify a spacing for the edge box. So we type in spacing and we specify spacing equals 10. And now after doing that, we simply copy these buttons and we are going to paste it thrice. So I'm going to copy it and paste it. So we should have 3 buttons there. Now if you actually switch to the scene builder, you will be able to see changes over here. So as you could see, now we have 3 buttons, and as you might have noticed that these 3 buttons are not actually placed at the center. So we actually want all of these things to center. So we again go back to the code, and for the edge box we specify the alignment to be center. So we align these buttons to center. So now in order to basically align it to center, we go ahead and type in alignment equals center. And now if we basically save this code, and when we go to the scene builder, as you could see, these buttons are now aligned to the center. Now what we do is that we are going to simply copy this edge box layout, and I'm going to paste it 3 times so that we have buttons all over the place. So now if we switch to the scene builder, as you could see, now we have multiple buttons over here. So now the only thing which we need to do is that we actually need to change the text on these numbers. So in order to do that, we go right over here, we change this thing to 8, this one to 9. Then after 7, 8, 9, we have 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to change this to 4, this one to 5, and this one to 6. And finally, I am going to change this thing to 1, this thing to 2, and the final thing to 3. So again, if we switch back to the scene builder, as you could see, we have the numbers 7, 8, 9. Actually, I made this thing 8. So this thing should be 9. Okay, so when we switch back to the scene builder, we have the numbers as 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3. So basically now we have the numbers. So basically we are done with designing half the layout. So that's it for this tutorial, and in the next tutorial we'll be finally completing the design of our calculator, and then finally we are going to add in the functionality so as to make this calculator perform the required operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you.